Hey everybody, JJ here, back again for another Saturday of Zoom networking. Our guest speaker today is an absolutely wonderful person. She's one of the amazing young rock stars of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. And again, if you've been on my calls, you've heard me talk about Pace. He's the premier genius in creative real estate in the country. Pace's Sub 2 community is by far unparalleled, the premier real estate education platform in the world, bar none. Kind of cover that because it's just a great platform. Our guest speaker is out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. She started as a student, has become an entrepreneur, mother, runs a family, a business, a household, and real estate all at the same time. My good friend, Carlin Hostert. How are you, Carlin?
Hi, JJ. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, for the time that I've been in Sub 2, when you came onto the platform, I'm just like, I see you here, I see you there, I see you here. And next thing I know, you're kind of all over the place. It just makes people go, who is this person? And of course, I've reached out. We've got to know one another. And I thought, we need to share your story. For those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
So I'm located in southern New Mexico. It's one of the less sub 2 populated states, but we are starting to see a little bit more investor activity here. I'm personally down by Las Cruces in a town called Alamogordo, so not substantially huge. It's primarily a military town. So that's actually why we're here. James is active duty.
Okay. And, you know, I'll just get a hit on this for a second. From a real estate standpoint and it being a small area, are you doing a lot of your activity remotely in other cities and other states? Are you focusing on your immediate area?
Interestingly enough, we actually do a decent amount of deals in our local market. So whenever I see people, like if I see contractors, if I see roofers, if I see someone that installs doors, I'll actually stop and talk to them and figure out who they are. And that opens up my door for finding new flippers. It opens up my door for finding buy and holders,
Networking,
networking.
networking. Cool, cool. And, we all, what we have in common is Sub 2. We've met through real estate investment. We're both in the same educational forum platform, Pace Morby Sub 2 community. There's a whole bunch of people in Sub 2 now. I think it's grown over the last couple of years. 1,200 when I started 2 years ago this month. From 1,200, they're now at 11,200. So they've grown quite a bit, 10,000 last 2 years. But from people all over the country, we come into Sub 2, all ages, shapes, sizes, everything else. We all have different start and background. And when coming up through the world and you're married, you've got kids, correct?
Mhm.
You've got a family. So in the process of, say, learning how to drive, getting to where you can vote, getting to where you could go into a store and buy a bottle of wine. Most states that's at age 21. But was real estate something around when you were, going through these years? Was mom an agent? Was dad a contractor? What were you doing, say, through your teens and your 20s?
I through my teens and early 20s, I was making a lot of bad decisions. Real estate was not something that was around me. It's something my mom, like when we would travel, we did a lot of traveling growing up because my mom's family's on the East Coast. So we'd be driving back east, and the extent of my real estate experience would be my mom going, "Wow, Carlin, look at that house. Could you imagine building that house? Could you imagine sitting on that front porch?" That was the extent of it. Um, never really been real involved. The My uncle actually did real estate, but at the age I was when he was in, I had no idea what he was talking about.
So now, getting into your early 20s, I mean, your husband's with the military.
Mhm.
Um, did you guys start together in the real estate? Did one of you start and bring the other one in? Was it before you guys got married? After you guys got married? When did real estate? I mean, you guys are still in your 20s. You're a young family, young couple. When did real estate become a part of what you two are doing?
So a few years ago, our AC exploded. Um, literally exploded. It killed my grass. I was ticked. Like I had spent all summer trying to grow it, and then middle of July, my AC was just like. So anyone who knows military, we basically get enough pay to make sure our housing and our food is covered, and um, that's about it. So with an AC exploded, I was pregnant. I had a 1 year old and then two 6 year olds. It was just a lot. And on one income, that wasn't going to cover what we needed to for our AC to be fixed, especially in New Mexico when it's 100 degrees generously. So I started digging down the YouTube hole and I stumbled across it actually wasn't Pace. I stumbled across something that was like, "Oh, here's some quick ways to make a quick buck." I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I've got nothing better to do." So I started looking into that and I came across wholesaling. I'm an avid reader. So I was like, "Okay, books. I need to get books. I need to learn everything about this." And I started buying books, ordering everything. And I sent James a text and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to try and sell real estate." He's like, "Okay, crap. I can either fight this or I can go with it." So Jesse Stanton, and my husband were actually active duty together. Since Jesse's on here, I'll throw him under the bus. They have boy band music, like real boy band music. And so James said, "Okay, connect with my friend Jesse." So I reached out to Jesse and I said, "Hey, I know you don't know me, but you were in the military with my husband." And he said that I needed to talk to you because you did like house stuff. Um, can you help me? Like, do you have any idea like what I need to do? And so I got on a phone call with Jesse, and he's the one that introduced me to Pace. So Pace was starting his Zero to Hero challenge 2 days after I had connected with Jesse. So he said, "Okay, get into this challenge and let's get this ball rolling." And so lo and behold, here we are. Everything started with an AC explosion, Jesse and Pace.
Okay. And so when that came about, did you find out about Sub 2 right away, or were you watching the Pace videos, or did you?
So I had done the Zero to Hero, so I was adamant. I was the person Pace would never be allowed to talk crap about because I was there 2 minutes before it started every day. Like it's like he can't say anything. I'm here. I'm showing face. I'm going to do the homework. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to do all the stuff, and I'm going to figure this out. And so I think we joined. So we started doing the Zero to Hero in August or September, I want to say. And then we joined Sub 2 officially in February. Not, I think it was February 2021.
Great. Now, when you got into Sub 2, there's a lot. We all know that if we're in Sub 2, we frequently refer to the curriculum as a fire hose of information. In
Yes.
general, it's overwhelming. There's so many different things. When I started, Pace had identified the acquisitions manager, the dispo manager, the TC, the integrator, and the visionary, and now then they went into avatars, and I think there's something like 143 avatars now.
Oh, crap. I thought there was like 10.
There's more than I can count. There might be, 10. I can count to about 9. But when you started out, did you know that you wanted to get into? I mean, what's your field? What's your specialty now? I know that we talk about acquisitions. We talk about dispo. Is your husband active in this? Are you doing everything? Have you kind of found your avenue? How did the course go for you to find where you become more comfortable?
Um, I guess there's a couple different parts to that question. So James is active with me. He is not only my life partner, but he's also my business partner. We look at deals together. We're always sending each other properties we see. Lots of like our conversations going to bed aren't "how was your day?" Is like, "Hey, we really got to figure out the underwriting for," like that's what the conversations are before we go to bed. Um, James actually works with Jesse and Chris in his own avenue. And I actually have a partnership with Jesse on a coaching program that we started, heavily evolved around that fire hose that you were talking about. So we've developed a curriculum specifically catering to like those small little things that really make the biggest impact in your business.
That sounds really interesting. Tell me about that. I wasn't aware of that.
So it's called the Growth Co. When you first come into Sub 2, there's that fire hose you were talking about.
Yeah.
In the Growth Co, we focus heavily on finding what your avatar is, developing your plan, your daily plan around your avatar, so you're actually being productive instead of busy. We focus a lot on mindset and why having a healthy mindset is important. We focus on the importance of social media. So we've got a week dedicated specifically to that, and we go over different ways that you can build your social media presence.
So,
Yeah, the who, not how concept. So we really took a lot of the stuff that you don't really take much consideration into when you're developing your business and your schedule and your routines and everything, and we've brought it all together to build this course to help build your business in a more successful way.
that's awesome. We've got Jesse on the call. Can we bring him on for a minute?
Oh, please, yes.
Mr. Jesse Stanton.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm just excited to be here and just learn along, with everybody else. It's always a breath of fresh air whenever I get to speak with you two. So thank you.
Jesse, let me ask you. You're one of the OG rock stars in Sub 2. You're one of the Mick Jaggers of the crowd.
I try to go to the gym a little bit more, probably, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're both probably most definitely a little bit more buff than he is. But this program that you're putting together that Carlin's working with you on, do you guys want to? I'd be glad to let you guys go into a little bit about that and share with what you guys are working, and maybe you could explain a little bit more about the role that's developing for Carlin.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just maybe touch a little bit on it because I know this is kind of Carlin's thing. I'd love to hear, more from her. I get to learn,
Sure.
Every time that her and I have the opportunity to talk. But yeah, her and I have developed a really deep relationship ever since, like she said, we had the opportunity to connect. It's been, how long has it been now, Carlin? Over 2 years?
It's been a little bit over 2 years. You've been my best friend since then.
It's been awesome. And just getting to know her a little bit and the way that her mindset works and the way that just she is as a mom and as a spouse, as a friend. There's just a lot to say about Carlin. And so she definitely stuck out from a lot of the other people that I knew. And so I knew, when I wanted to start a coaching business, I knew that Carlin was just the right fit for it. And so we started it back in May. And because Pace has said this best, the problem with real estate, if there is a problem, it's just that there are too many ways to be successful. And so a lot of times when you jump into real estate or even other mentorships or programs or, things like that, you almost feel like you've got the keys to the kingdom, but now it's like, well, which door do I start now? And so we created this program, and a lot of it is structured based on things that I learned, in the military. And the last 3.5 years of my 14-year career in the Air Force was spent as an instructor. And so Carlin and I, when we were building this course, got to collab and kind of put things and piece things together to make sure that it was very structured and it was an intentional, and there were things in place to where people could take that information, we could practice it in class together, and then they could go, later and implement it. And then before we give them new information, we also, meet up once again and say, hey, how did this go? And I'll give you a quick example, not to drag on, but one of the things I learned in the Air Force was the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yeah.
And so each week, it's an 8-week program, but each week we give new information. And part of the homework that week is to go and find somebody else who would benefit from knowing this information and teaching it to them.
So smart.
Because if you don't know it well enough to explain it to somebody else to go and implement it, then, for them to go implement it themselves, then you don't know it well enough. And so that's kind of one of the things that, that has been, been a big part of our program as well. So.
That's a genius. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think in Carlin, I've known you for a while, I've known her for a while. And it's funny, cream rises to the top, and it so happens that you two are working together. So just wanted to pull you on for a second, recognize you, and let those
Thank
that
you.
are familiar with you to get a little introduction to you on Carlin's call, since you two are working together.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Hey, good to see you, my friend. And we got to
You
get
as
you
well.
back on the schedule again for a future call.
Love
I'd
you,
be honored,
buddy.
brother. Love you. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jess. Over and out. So, Carlin, your topic today is the importance of a growth mindset. How did you come about that? I mean, we've got different avenues, and obviously, everything about real estate's mindset. It's about relationships. It's about our focus on responsibilities. Um, but the growth mindset that was a different one for me a little bit. But what's your pitch on that? What's your outlay on your topic today?
So I just want to preface by saying that I personally have always battled with mental health. So clinical depression, ADHD, and recently discovering bipolar. So there's like a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it's something that's not really heavily focused on, I believe, as much as it should be, because I mean, admittedly, now there's a little bit more notice in the importance of mental health, but it's not actually talking about how to take care of mental health. It's just acknowledging that it's there. And to me, that doesn't really solve the issues. Saying, hey, I'm clinically depressed. Okay, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to solve that? And so mental health to me is something that I'm really passionate about because battling it literally my entire life, it's something that I've had to really learn how to adapt and evolve with. And having that experience has allowed me to be able to help other people learn how to adapt and evolve with it.
So it's amazing, the a lot of the challenges that people face, a lot of things we're doing are getting more attention these days, which is great. And talk about depression being one of those things. I think it's fantastic that we have a society today that's more able to address that and
Mm-hmm.
help people instead of making excuses of why it's you know should be easy to handle or why can't you do it yourself. But you know um, it's just great that it can be addressed and can be identified, and we can try and help people with some of the things that for years might not have been so easily identified. What have been, as you've worked on these things, and you obviously, our lives are always consistently growing and learning and getting better at what we do. What have you found to be some of your challenges along the way as hurdles that you've had to overcome that have allowed you to become better at what you do or get a better focus of your direction?
Um, so I think a lot of it starts with just self-recognition. Being able to recognize things that put me back into a negative routine that I personally don't want to be a part of. So, not changing out of sweatpants. Like these are things that a lot of people with mental health issues deal with, not changing your clothes. Maybe a big one is, mental health. Some people start stopping brushing their teeth or not making their bed, or maybe they don't want to go outside during the day. Things like that. For me, recognizing those patterns that are starting to reoccur, I have to stop and say, okay, hey, no, I don't want to do this. I need to go back. I need to reevaluate, and I need to figure out what I need to be doing to make sure I don't fall back into this negative cycle. And so, Jesse makes fun of me all the time. He calls me the journal queen, but I actually keep a notebook with me all the time. It goes with me everywhere. And I don't write negative things in my journal. I don't allow myself to write negative things. If I'm having a negative day, then I write that particular action, but then I need to figure out what it is that I need to transcribe that over into a positive emotion and figure out what it is that that's creating a win for. And that alone has actually really, really helped me figure out how to evolve and adapt with any sort of mental illnesses that I personally struggle with. And it's something that I really encourage other people with depression, ADHD, bipolar, um, whatever it is. That's something that I have found really useful and I will never not advocate for.
Now, now this is predominantly having your list with you. Is that what you're saying?
I keep my list with me. I keep everything in this journal.
Yeah, I should probably have one journal as well. I'm a big one for lists. I've got so many things. You notice that you have so many things going on. I've got to write it down. If I can't write it down, sometimes I'm not going to remember it because there's just so many moving pieces. I really like what you talked about as far as identifying key points and factors about not changing, not doing things that we need to do, about just getting up and getting outside the house every day, just walk out around the block or something, some fresh air, some daylight, some kind of activity, and to not let ourselves get down. I think without having been to talk to anyone about these things through the years, I've dealt with my own bouts of depression and challenge, and they're for a variety of reasons, but how we deal with it is what dictates how successfully we can be. And I love the fact that you've got a plan together and you've identified certain things, and that now you're actually helping other people to move past that. I think that's awesome.
It's taken years of therapy, honestly. I started therapy when I was about 12 years old. Actually like really focused therapy. So I've started that about 12 years old, and none of it made sense to me until I was about 23. And then there's just one day where the light bulb snapped and I was like, oh, so I actually have to implement these things. Like I don't just go talk to you, I have to like do them. Well, crap. Okay. And so learning how to implement those skills over the years has just made tremendous leaps and strides for my overall thinking, my day-to-day habits, general behavior. So a lot of emotion, it just contributes to recognizing and acknowledging that emotion. So depression a lot of the time is just build up and build up and build up of that raw energy that doesn't get dispersed into any way, shape, or form. It's just dwelling there.
Now, are you now taking these things that you've identified and worked on, and the benefit of many years of therapy, because that's a huge benefit. Some people don't have the opportunity, or haven't had the opportunity to have people address those things. Are you implementing some of these things into the training now that you're doing for other people?
Yes, and it's actually something I implement every day with my kids too. So my kids, every morning on our way to school, we do our morning affirmations. I'm sure a couple of people have heard me talk about this, but no matter how the morning is going, if there's fighting, if there's chaos, if there's anything happening, as soon as we get in my car to go to school, those emotions are now null and void. We're now starting over. We say our affirmations. I walk my kids up to the school every morning. I'm like that embarrassing mom that's like, bye, baby. I love you. You're great. Everything's going to be awesome today. Like, I'm that mom. And so walking up to the school, we go, okay, guys, what do we do if we fail? And my kids go, we try again. And I say, what happens if it doesn't work? And they say, we find another way. I say, are we allowed to give up? And we say, no. And implementing little things like that, it's just amazing to see the character development in such little human beings evolving to be something that they're bigger than. And that is really important to me. So aside from trying to help other people through their own mental obstacles, it's really, really important to me to be encouraging the next generation to be recognizing these obstacles, because I didn't really recognize it growing up. It wasn't really something that was discussed in my house. The extent of my childhood was, oh yeah, our family's crazy. I'm like, oh, cool. So this is normal. And that was it. Like it wasn't like, how do we fix this? How do we change this? It was, hey, everyone in your family is a little bit loopy. And it just kind of left at that.
So now, in imparting this to real estate investors, um, do you find it's a big challenge sometimes getting people to understand that there's a need to address their mindset? Or is everybody already predominantly in the right mindset as far as maybe doing what you think what it takes to be successful in real estate?
No, no, it's uh well, yes and no. So there's a group of people that recognize that they have to be developing that mindset. And then there's also a group of people who don't want to acknowledge it. They're the people that just want success and don't want to actually overcome the obstacles. And so I love advocating books. I actually lead a book club. Julie and Pansy are actually both in my book club regularly. And we go over a lot of mental, like personal development stuff and why it's important and how it's relevant to real estate or really any business. Because if you can't find success in failure, then you will fail in any business. That's just how it is. So being able to, okay, well, this deal fell through. And that really sucks. But what do I need to do to get back up on my feet and go find another one instead of sitting there and going, oh, woe is me. I wanted that deal. I really liked that house. I wanted it in my portfolio. I lost 10 grand. That could have been a wholesale deal. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And so when it comes to real estate, you have to have a growth mindset. That's a non-negotiable.
Do you find that most investors, and is there a break between, and I'll just say the younger investor, the older investor, the newer investor, the more experienced investor? Is there a difference in who's more willing to modify their mindset? Do people acknowledge that they have possibly an area that might need addressing that could help them with their business, or is it something you have to kind of introduce people and pull everybody into it and through it?
I'm not going to say there's a specific age range because a lot of it has a lot to do with your upbringing and your willingness to adapt. So
Right.
once you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm a little bit more receptive, and some people it takes a lot of work, other people are just willing to try it. I've talked to people I went to high school with, and some of the people I never would have expected to be having these conversations with are some of the people that are willing to listen to what I have to say, reading the books that I have to offer, listening to the seminars that I send them. It doesn't matter your age, it matters about your level of receptivity.
And within your program, are people interacting with other students? Is it kind of a community where I've just, my big thing is always trying to bring people together. And as that happens, it allows others to possibly find commonality. And if we can allow ourselves by interacting or networking with others to find people that we could possibly resonate with enough to where we have people to talk to on a regular basis, it makes us, give us, as long as we have a couple of people we can talk to, sometimes that helps us with our focus. It's easier to keep going when there's maybe someone there that can pick up the phone and help us from getting lazy or depressed or something. Do you find that, because I don't know if I find this as much, I'm asking, do you find that most people do not see the importance of the community, that they can do it on their own? Or do you find that you have to convince people that they have to do a little bit more so that they could actually develop relationships within their landscape?
So I guess first and foremost on that, it's not my job to try and convince you to change. And I think that's where a lot of fault and error and miscommunication happens, is when you're trying to encourage someone and they don't want to be receptive, then you become that pushy, naggy person, and they get frustrated. Within the Growth Co. specifically, we actually rely very heavily on accountability and communication. So one of the first things we do is we put everyone into a group chat. And it was really cool because with our last cohort, they actually developed their own accountability group outside of instruction. So they were all communicating. It was fabulous to see. I loved it. So I personally like to advocate for communication, rawness. I'm not one to hold back on anything I've experienced in life. I'll tell you exactly where I came from and how I got there and what happened here and what happened there. Because at some point, that rawness might be what opens that level of receptivity for someone.
It. I love what you guys have going here, helping others and providing that platform. Um, I don't know. What do you see a common line of challenges that the new students bring, or is it a wide variety? Do you see certain things that are popping up more often as far as some of the challenges that people face and I'll say getting to the next level?
A lot of what we see is just lack of structure and lack of clarity. So when you don't have an idea of what things you're passionate about, when you don't have an idea of, what your long-term goals are, where you want to be going in life, then that's where all that scatterbrain comes into play. And that's when I mostly see a lot of internalized frustration, because when you don't have that clear picture, you don't have a clear goal. And when you don't have a clear goal, you don't have a clear understanding. When you don't have the clear understanding, you don't have a clear schedule. And all of these things intertwine and just create this big yarn ball, I guess, of frustration. And so what I like doing is taking the end of that string and pulling it apart and saying, okay, so now that you're not a big ball, you're here and we want to get you here. This is now your timeline. And now we can break it up into little sections and say, okay, so this is where you're at. This is what we want to structure your day. This is what you like doing. Okay, well, this is what really correlates with what you like to do. This is the avatar that you'd probably fall into category with. I want you to discover a little bit more about that. And so a lot of it is just dissecting from point A to point Z, honestly, for where someone is to where they want to go, and really helping them develop a clear picture of what they're trying to do with their life.
That is so awesome. That's so important. I completely see the value of what you bring. It's amazing. I'm sure you play a bigger role than for so many of the people that are there. I know for myself, sometimes we just get up every day, we just become us. We don't always appreciate the impact we're having on other people. I'm sure you're getting a lot of feedback along the way as you're helping people to identify their challenges, identify their avenue, to get where they're going. That must be really, really fulfilling for you.
It is. I will say I love real estate, but it's not something I'm passionate about. And it's not to sound negative. To me, real estate is income.
Yeah.
I personally am passionate about helping people evolve and helping people grow and figure out what it is that they want to be doing in life. Because I don't have small goals. I have very lofty goals. And to me, they're realistic. I want to have an elephant sanctuary. I want to open up a chain of indoor playgrounds for kids throughout the country. If you just go say that to anyone on the street, they're going to be like, whoa, you want to do what? And I don't care if that sounds unrealistic to other people, because in my brain, I will make that happen. And I want to give that feeling and that power to someone else, where their goal that they're secretly scared to tell someone because they're scared that someone's going to say, that's not realistic. You can't do that. You're not going to achieve that. I want them to feel that power and be able to figure out how they will make that dream come true.
For everything you're doing right now, as you're growing, I've just seen your visibility explode all through Step 2. Obviously, I wanted to reach out and bring you on and hear about you and your mission and your journey and what you're doing. You've got your husband and nice young family. On the long term, are you guys looking to? I don't know if your husband's going to be lifelong in the military or not. Maybe you guys haven't discussed that. Maybe you have. But are you looking to, maybe as your family on the East Coast, as his on the West Coast, you guys looking to stay in New Mexico? What's the future look for you guys like logistically? And then in a business standpoint, are you looking to scale any particular direction for your real estate investment?
We are looking for buy and holds. As far as our long-term plan, that changes constantly. I am a very fluid person, so he's a little bit more structured than I am. He really keeps me grounded. Um, I kind of like to go all over the place. So one day I might want to live in Kentucky, the next day I might want to live in Texas. Sometimes I want to go visit Washington, other times I want to go back to Pennsylvania and see like I'm all over the place. There's so many beautiful places in the country that I can't really pick and decide. My immediate family is here in New Mexico. So there's a good possibility we do end up staying in New Mexico and we just end up traveling. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like yet because there's just countless amounts of possibilities and being able to work remotely, it allows those possibilities to be much more adaptable.
Yeah, and exactly by you guys being in real estate and ideally continue on the path of success, it leaves the option to travel wherever and whenever you want to and enjoy everything life has to hold. Travis Craig, you are on with Carlin Hostert. What's your question, my friend?
Thanks for putting this on, you guys, Carlin and JJ. So my question is about kind of time commitments and time pressures on trying to incorporate the mindset stuff. Something I'm sure you guys can appreciate as we're all super busy. I did just join your guys' group, Carlin. I don't think I even knew exactly all what it entailed, but I'm super re-engaged and committed to mindset right now. And Jeff McGrew actually sent me that way. And I love the look of it. But honestly, I'm already like, oh no, did I get myself in a little bit too deep here? Because I feel like my bandwidth is already like maxed out. I'm still trying to do a little bit of W-2. I'm learning my transaction coordination courses. But I'm also realizing I got to overcome this mindset stuff. I've had some realizations in the last couple of weeks that I've just been limiting myself in every aspect of my life for so long, and it's super deep, and I have to get through that. But at the same time, like, how do we make it work? Do you have any tips?
For structure, I guess, is to be more clear.
Yeah, that's absolutely a piece of it. I know I'm looking at time blocking, starting to try to do some of that. But I guess also foundational pieces of how you can be most efficient in managing that mindset.
I'm gonna bring that one straight back to the journal. So my time blocking, everything that I have for the day, I plan that out the night before. So I know what I'm doing the night before. And then when I get up in the morning, I go back through that schedule while my kids are eating breakfast and I make any sorts of adjustments that I might need to make for the day. I have 4 kids. I've got 2 7-year-olds, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So they do not have mercy. They don't care what my day looks like. So it's a lot of being able to adapt and accept that some things might not go the way that you anticipate them, and just being able to honestly just embrace that. Because I remember I called Jesse one day and my kids were just losing it. So needless to say, Jesse and I have 2 soccer teams. They're going to play each other one day. But I called him and I was just into real estate and I was like, dude, how do you balance this? Like, how do you juggle all of this? And for some reason, it was like the most unassuring, reassuring statement I could have ever heard. He said, there is no balance. You just have to figure it out. And I was just like, oh, shoot. I was not expecting that, and really accepting that balance is difficult to come by, but focusing on how your brain is developing and how you're evolving and how you're accepting the challenges that you see day to day, that's going to make the biggest impact on your mindset and the way that you overcome obstacles. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it's chaos, and yeah, I think, yeah, I get that. I think in part that I see that as needing to recognize some of the smaller wins a little bit more on the mindset basis than like outcome achievement, because I think that's one thing I've got goals on the board for the day and for the week, but the daily goals I think maybe are are too large, and so often they're not getting accomplished that I feel like that's sort of weighing on the mindset as well.
So I do have something for you. One of the things, let me see if I can find one of my pages. I write it in my notebook every day. You can't really see it, but it says wins for the day. And those could be the smallest thing. Like I said, I struggle with depression. So something as little as getting up and making the bed, that is a success. And that's something that needs to be recognized. And I don't think people take account for it. So making my kids a healthy breakfast, that's a win because I got a bowl of cereal sometimes in the morning. Like taking the time to recognize the things that you put an effort in will make a drastic change in the way your brain is processing your day-to-day activities.
Right. I like that. Yeah. Thank you. I think, yeah, maybe I need more of a post-doc wins list than just a daily goals and checklist.
Yeah, keep track of the things that you're succeeding in. Pay attention to your little wins. Write every single one of them down for like a week straight and then get back to me and let me know how you feel about it.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I sincerely hope to be able to engage with you guys more in your group as well.
Yeah, just send me a message whenever.
Just, and as Carlin was saying, to get out and make sure we're getting exercise and doing some of these things. But I mean, I think the benefit of what we're doing is we're with the right people. We're on this call. We're here with the mindset to help ourselves and be around people that are on the same path. So you're halfway there, brother, but definitely stay in touch with Carlin. And, we'll have, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or MySpace, whatever she likes to use, but we'll make sure that we have a way to provide for you at the end of the call, figure the best way to follow up with her. Cynthia Ware, you're on mute, but Cynthia Ware, you're on with Carlin Hostert. What's your question?
Thank you. I want to first tell her thank you for her candidness, particularly on her discovery of mental health.
Yeah.
It's good. It needs to be talked on these platforms or in places where we are connecting. And I thank you for that. So one of the things about, and I want to ask you, where did you find that place for yourself when in your mind, okay, I want to do this real estate. I want to be in this real estate investment space. Okay, and then when you start looking at going into it, you're doing it. How much time? What time span did it take before you found yourself doing it? Because to me, it's a lot of hats that you got to move these pieces, and if you're doing it alone, it may take you a long time. If you get one, it may take you a long time to get some consistency.
Yeah.
So what did you find?
So from the point that I found wholesaling on Facebook to the time that I talked to Jesse was, I'm going to say 3 days. So
Wow.
when I find something I'm interested in, I go full force. Like I do not let up on the gas pedal. And then when I got into the 0 to Hero challenge, I took that as like a personal challenge. Like Pace would say, oh, only like 10 of you are going to do this, only blah, blah, blah. And my brain goes, yeah, watch me. I'll be one of those 10. Like I do not take a challenge lightly. I'm very competitive and I've just always been that way. So when someone says, oh, you can't do it, my brain goes, watch me. So it was a very quick process. I will say there were a lot of ups and downs. There were a lot of days that I would call Jesse or I'd call my husband. One of our very first partners was Daniel Quijano. He got a lot of phone calls of me just crying, going, I can't do this. And they'd go, yes, you can. You've made it this far. Why are you doubting yourself now? Why are you thinking you can't do it when all you've done is show us you can? And so I think from point A to where I am now, it was all very quick. I personally, I didn't know that I did this, but I've always followed the concept of who, not how, because if I can't figure out how to do something, I'll find someone who can and I'll have them teach me. And so that's a concept that I think really needs to be more involved because like you said, everyone's trying to wear all these hats and they're trying to do all the things by themselves. And I mean, it doesn't make any sense when you've got like someone like Jesse, you've got JJ, you've got Daniel Quijano, you've got all these people with the capabilities to show you how you need to do something. And all it takes is just reaching out and saying, hey, I don't know how to do this. How can I learn from you?
Okay, that was a good answer.
Cynthia, you had another question in the chat here about the sensation of wearing too many hats. Did you want to touch on that?
Well, she kind of said she bombards individuals and say, I need to be taught, but everybody doesn't have that personality to do that. And then everybody on the other end is not open to be bombarded. They won't answer your calls, they ghost you. This is I'm not, that doesn't work for everyone, but
I've got two things on that then.
Okay.
So first, that opens up the door of you're not accepting being uncomfortable. To be successful, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. And that's opening up another door. That's going into the idea of receptivity. You have to learn how to be uncomfortable and recognizing that being uncomfortable is where you recognize that growth comes into play. If someone doesn't answer your message, screw them. There's 11,000 other people that you can bombard. That's fine. If one person doesn't want to answer my message, I'll go find someone else. And taking those things and bringing them together.
All right.
If someone tells you to...
I'm calling you.
Call me, please. I put my phone number on there. You put your phone number on there. We have to talk now.
Yeah, I'm calling. It'd be a good conversation.
I try my best.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It'll be a good conversation.
Now, we had a question here in the chat. Actually, Jesse asked this question. He was on a little bit earlier. But he said, what book has made the biggest impact for you this year?
Think Like a Monk. Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
Okay, I'm gonna write that here in the chat.
I've read a lot of books this year, and that has been by far one of my favorite books.
Now, what did that touch on?
It touches a lot on accepting things as they are, noticing the small things, recognizing little changes in your day-to-day behavior. Like a great example he uses is gossip. You go into the workplace, people are gossiping and gossiping. You don't want that energy around you. You don't need to be around those people. So instead of engaging, point out something that the people that are gossiping about, like if they're gossiping about one person, say, yeah, but he did a really good job at this. And recognizing and encouraging other people's benefits, their efforts. And that to me really stood out because I think a lot of where we're at in community and society now is everyone's always talking down on each other. Oh, Kim Kardashian. Oh, Brad Pitt. Oh, did you see Johnny Depp and his ex-wife? I don't care about any of that. I love Johnny Depp's movies. I don't care who you are.
Me too.
Pirates of the Caribbean, his marital problems are not my problems.
And
leave that to him.
And Brad Pitt, love him too.
Yeah. So recognizing what people accomplish and how they accomplish it and how they're successful and how they can benefit you. That was one of the really big things that I took away from that book. And then one of the other really big things that stood out to me is recognizing little things in reoccurring habits. So the example he uses is he says, we go on a walk every day. We walk the same walk every day. But every day we have a new challenge to find a new flower. We have to find a new rock. We have to find a new tree or a new insect. And so even though you're doing the same thing over and over, you're finding all of these beautiful little gems along the way. Whether or not you've walked that walk 500 times, or maybe it's a new walk, there's something to see and something to benefit and something to provide no matter how many times it's done.
Great stuff there. Yeah. So, being positive, avoiding the negative is huge. Sounds like a great book. I'm going to add that to my book list.
I would put it on the top, honestly.
Okay. We got another question here. This might be the last question we have a young man with us, Mr. Justin Kremer. You are on with Carlin. What's your question?
Hey, Carlin, JJ, thank you guys so much for doing this. This is yet another amazing subject that is close to my heart. So, I had a conversation with a partner of mine probably about, it must have been 6 months ago by now, but we were just having a discussion and something came up and I was like, oh man, I'm such an idiot. And it was just a real simple, yeah, it was just a real simple comment that my buddy made, or my partner made. He's like, hey, no negative self-talk, man. Stop that shit right now. Excuse my French. But and the reason I bring that up is because I talk to a lot of new students, a lot of new sub 2 people. I get into conversations with them, and one of the conversations that we get into is, they get the shiny object syndrome and blah blah blah. But during our conversations, I'm starting to notice that a lot more in people. It's really, really prevalent. There's a lot of negative self-talk going on. And one of the things that I recommend, and I do this myself too, because I'm trying to work on this with myself too, but is doing the daily affirmations, and then also waking up when you first get up, thinking about 3 things that you're grateful for. That really helps with me anyway. But I'm just curious, like what kind of advice you'd have, like if you're having a discussion with someone and you realize like, there's maybe a little bit more negative self-talk than is maybe normal, or maybe not more than is normal, but there's a high level of negative talk going on here that I sense. Like, what would you recommend for folks like that?
First things first, talking down on yourself is the best way to make me an enemy, because I do not like it when people say negative things about themselves or other people.
Mhm.
And you can hear that in a lot of different podcasts that I've been in. I don't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing I tell my kids is what I tell other people. You're entitled to your feelings, but you're not allowed to say mean things to yourself or anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the best questions you can ask someone is, would you say that to someone else?
Mm-hmm.
If someone says, oh, I'm an idiot, would you tell that to someone else's face?
Yeah, no.
Why would you say it to yourself if you wouldn't say it to someone else?
Right.
So treating yourself as well as the way you treat the people around you is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, why would you say it to yourself?
You need to be respectful of yourself, just like you need to be respectful of everyone else.
Yeah. So are there any other things you'd recommend to help combat that a little bit?
This trifolds back into my journal.
Journaling?
Journaling. Yeah. I do the same thing. I do gratitudes and affirmations, what I'm thankful for, and my affirmations directly reflect what I'm feeling bad about with myself. So I can go to any page in my journal and tell you how I was feeling that day based on the affirmations. So if I go to a page and the affirmations are saying, I am confident, I'm strong, I'm focused, I'm patient, I'm a good mom, I'm a good wife, I'm calm, I'm capable. I was feeling the exact opposite of all of those that day.
Yeah.
So constantly reassuring yourself that you are all of those things kind of mitigates and cancels out those negative feelings, because I wasn't feeling confident. I definitely didn't feel like, I probably got mad at my kids for something that day.
Right.
I probably was arguing with James that day for probably something really stupid, honestly. But recognizing, you know what, I am a good mom and I am a good wife and I am confident and strong and capable. And then it allows you to break it down a little bit further. So breaking things down into smaller, how am I confident? How am I capable? How am I a good mom? How am I a good spouse?
Yeah.
So really getting granular in your thought processes and recognizing your abilities is really important.
I love that. That's amazing. So do you find yourself sort of like rereading this stuff, or is it sort of like you write it? Okay. So I'm thinking like you write it and then kind of that's it, but you're kind of going back and like re-looking at it, right?
I keep my journal with me all day, every day. It is my living testament to who I am.
Hmm.
So I reread it, I go back, I reflect, I can see what I've learned, I can see what I've taken notes on, I can see how my behaviors and my patterns have changed from one point to another.
Nice. Yeah, I need to get better at journaling myself. I do a little bit of journaling, but I need to do it a little bit more, I think.
It
So
is the best. If I
absolutely.
if I go without journaling, I can really like it, I can feel it. My body is like, no, 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 you haven't
Yeah.
written today.
Yeah. And that's also like for me, that's the way I learn. I have to write stuff down. I like just typing it in a computer or whatever is not good enough for me. Like I have to write like physically write notes. So I feel like journaling on top of that, journaling would have that sort of visceral
Mhm.
effect for me. But anyway, thank you so much. That's awesome.
And Carlin, I'm just sitting here taking little notes, writing things down. Just all the gold nuggets, you just, it's amazing sometimes how when we're looking to help other people, that everything we say is so simple, but it's a matter of bringing it all together. And then when it all fits together, it's amazing the value and the structure that it has as far as being positive, thinking positive about yourself. Don't not to talk negative, having tasks to do, making sure that we break out of any negative ruts and we're upbeat and out and exercise and get up and do daily tasks and all those things together, and then being around people like yourself and joining a community where we can surround ourselves and learn from people like yourself that are providing some experience and some structure to help the newer people. It's just amazing how just implementing some little things can completely change people's lives. And I just really, really admire you for what you're doing, for what you've done, taking your own experiences, your own challenge, and turning that into a strength and helping your community. I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
Justin, as always, I want to thank you for being on today with us and asking
Absolutely.
a question, my friend. It's always good to see you.
Yeah,
Can't
love you guys.
Chargers game. We got a Chargers game coming up soon.
That's right, my friend.
Let's get
looking,
that schedule.
looking forward to it.
So, Carlin, again, thank you so much. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you a couple more things. Um, what's the best way people want to follow up with you, whether they have questions in general or about the training that you're providing and ways where they can take on other, their own challenges of depression or getting more structure in their life? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Would it be your MySpace page, your TikTok, Instagram?
Ugh, don't even look at my MySpace page. That's embarrassing. You can really see the emotional phases I've gone through with that. Um, Facebook is generally my primary form of communication. You can call me. I do answer my phone, but Facebook Messenger is the best way to reach me. And then from there, if you want to get a little bit more in depth, we can schedule a call or I can send a Calendly link so we can talk a little bit face to face.
Perfect, perfect. Hey, my group's a networking group, and I try to stay away from curriculum and education as much as I can. I think there's enough people out there throwing it at people. There's a multitude of education groups, but I just try to talk on the importance of networking. And I think after a while, I know it's repetitive because you got to work on the fundamentals constantly. But from your standpoint, your experience as an investor, um, not only a new investor, but a successful investor. In a very short period of time, you've leveraged social media, you created your visibility, you're highly recognized within the community, highly respected, working with one of the powerhouses in our industry, Jesse Stanton, and providing value, bringing that back to the community with your experience and now helping others. But from your standpoint, there's many education platforms all using Facebook to have a community for a page for their community. And there are people coming to these social media or these Facebook groups of all these platforms that are new investors and experienced investors coming to social media possibly for the first time, learning how to use Facebook as a business tool for their business. As they're using Facebook and they're interacting with others, as well as Instagram, from a Facebook standpoint, what's the importance of networking to build one's business? And what is the importance of possibly joining a group, maybe like mine, to again assist in the growth and development of somebody's business from your standpoint?
So Jesse, first of all, I'm going to harp on this. Jesse is running a connector Zoom series right now, specifically on why networking is important, because a skill that you don't have, someone else probably does. We just hired a integrator for the Growth Co. He starts talking, I've got no idea what you're saying right now. Like, do I need to type an email? What do I need to do? Because you're using words that are so foreign to me. And so his skill is incredibly valuable. And without being able to network and being able to connect with people, I would have never met him. So the things that you don't have the ability to do, finding the right person and making that connection will be your net worth.
Excellent. No, I think you're just everything you're doing, I think, seems to be revolving around being visible, meeting people, expanding your growth, your network, and I just think you're an excellent role model for any investor on how to, just take the world by storm. You're just an inspiration in many, many ways, and I'll say thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing stuff like this.
Cool. Hey, so if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Carlin's video. Please like our presentation. Please put in the comments what your takeaways were, what you found valuable, just your feedback in general and how we can possibly make our videos better. Again, if you want to get a hold of Carlin, Facebook's a predominant vehicle for that. If you want to get a hold of me or join my networking group, look for my website, jjazizian.com. There's a little flashing register now button. Click that. You can register for the group. But look for more videos coming up on Flipside with JJ. We're going to have more great guest speakers coming up. Hopefully, we're going to get Juliet Sarah Lou on schedule in the future. He's an amazing rock star from Southern California. But just look for more. Again, thank you guys so much. If you're on the call right now, do not go away. We're going to have breakout rooms, live networking, meeting other people that are of the same mindset, doing what you're doing. And again, to you guys on the call, thank you. For you guys watching on the YouTube world, thank you so much. Carlin, thank you again. Really, really appreciate you. It's been a lot of fun, and look forward to continuing to growing together and getting to know you more.
Thank you. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Over now, folks. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.